What's up, Pack? Welcome to another episode of the Ask the Pack Leader Show. We have a very special guest today named Dr. David Mech.
The first revolution is when you change your mind about how you look at things and see that there might be another way to look at it that you have not been shown.
Dr. Mech is a renowned scientist, conservation biologist, and animal behavior expert whose career has spanned over 50 years. Having published 11 books, over 380 scientific papers, and over 100 scientific articles related to his work in wildlife conservation and animal behavior studies, Dr. Mech is highly acclaimed for his knowledge and insights on wolves and is one of the most respected scientists in animal behavior. He is the founding member of the International Wolf Center, where he currently serves on the Scientific Advisory Board. In 2020, Dr. Mech was awarded the prestigious John B. Coleman Memorial Award from the Wildlife Society in recognition on his long-term and significant contributions to wildlife biology and management. His tireless efforts towards preserving our planet's natural biodiversity have made him an admired figure among scientists around the world. His work has been controversial and widely misinterpreted by the dog training community over the past 20 years. Specifically, to the findings related to his 1970 book, The Wolf, The Ecology and Behavior of an Endangered Species, and his 1999 paper, Alpha Status, Dominance, and Division of Labor in Wolf Packs. I am humbled and honored to introduce to the Ask the Pack Leader podcast, Dr. David Mech. Dr. Mech, it's amazing that you took the time to speak to us today. I really appreciate it. It's an absolute honor. The more and more that I study your work, the more and more fascinated I get about wolves and nature, dogs even, and their behavior. It's remarkable work that you've done, and the more and more that I look at it again, it's just super fascinating work. So again, I want to thank you for taking the time today to speak with me. I understand your time is super valuable, so I think we should get right into the questions if that's cool with you.
Sure, that's fine.
Awesome. All right, so question number one would be, would you define a group of wolves living together as a pack? If so, within that pack, are there pack leaders? Who are they? And what does their role as leader consist of?
Just like a human family.
Okay. And when you say just like a human family, meaning that the parents are assumed to be dominant over their children, correct?
Not just assume, they are.
They are, correct. Okay. That's really like the...
I mean, with wolves, I can't tell. It depends on the family for humans, but
correct.
With wolves, that's the way it is, yes.
Got you. Understood. Really good. We're already on to number two. Number two, based on your experience studying wolves, in your opinion, would you say it would be possible for a human to lead your dog in a relationship analogous to the way a breeding male or female would lead their pack members, or a parent would lead their child?
Well, as I said, I'm not an authority on dogs. I can't speak to that.
Correct. So what I'm saying with that, I understand that you're not, but as we talked about in the first question, would you say that a human leading their offspring would be similar to a breeding male or female leading their pack members within a pack in let's say in nature?
I guess I don't understand. Repeat that or say it in a different way. Are you talking about humans trying to lead dogs again? Is that
correct?
What you mean?
Correct. What I mean is,
I don't know.
Okay, you don't understand the dog part. Yeah. Okay, but so with wolves, though, there are pack leaders, correct, within a pack of wolves.
Yeah.
Right, and what would the roles of the pack leaders be within a?
Well, they do all the initiating. They make all the decisions. They decide where to go, what to do, what to kill, and they keep the young ones in line.
Got it. Makes sense. It's amazing. Okay, so second would be a third question. What is dominance, and is there dominance within a wolf pack or any hierarchy whatsoever? If so, does dominance come in the form of dominance contests, or can dominance be assumed similar to the way a parent being dominant over its young?
Yeah, that's exactly the right way to look at it, just like a human over a child. They don't necessarily, it depends on the family, obviously, but in most families, they don't necessarily just box them or knock them over or something. They just say, right, don't do this. Well, with the wolves, it's sort of the same way. The young ones learn that what the adults want them to do, sometimes with subtle cues, And sometimes it takes a little more effort on the part of the adults, including, I mean, sometimes the adults have to actually, I guess I'd call it punish the pups, like maybe they knock them over or something, that type of thing. But generally, the pups learn pretty quickly to obey what the adults want them to do just by what the adults themselves do, and the pups just sort of follow what the adults want them to do.
Right. And so basically, like when you talk about the punishment, it's a huge spectrum of punishment, correct? Like punishment could be very, very, very minor, all the way to an extreme
Well,
level.
they might snap at a pup. An adult might snap at a pup, or sometimes push it down or something with its nose, that type of thing. And sometimes pick it up and carry it away if they, because sometimes the pups will try to follow the adults away from the den, let's say. And the adult pick up the pup and take it back, that type of thing.
Makes sense. Yeah, because I think a big thing that happens in the world of wolves, at least from my research of talking to people about it, is people believe that dominance is a one-size-fits-all type thing, where there's an alpha one at the top who's constantly doing dominating contests over the rest of the pack members, which is obviously not what actual dominance is.
That's correct. And, another way of looking at it, like in a lot of wolf packs, the pack will be more than just the adults and their most recent pups. There are probably yearlings in the pack as well. That'd be the pups from the previous year. Those yearlings automatically dominate the pups as well. It's not they don't fight to do it, they just do it. And, the adults then, the breeding pair will dominate the yearlings, and the yearlings then, just being larger, will just dominate the pups. But that they don't have to have a fight over it. It just the way it is with humans.
It can be done through like energy and body language, correct? It doesn't have to be some big ritual. Right. Understood. That's really good. So number 4 would be, would I be correct in stating that in your 1970 book, The Wolf, Ecology and Behavior of an Endangered Species, you observed that in captivity, wolves would compete in dominance contests for the top alpha position. But in your 1999 paper, Alpha Status, Dominance and Division of Labor in Wolf Packs, you corrected that statement as you observed that wolves in natural environment rarely, if ever, have dominance contests. However, they still do indeed have pack leaders who are assumed as the dominant members of the pack.
Yeah. Now with this, did you look at my website? Did you see the material on my website about all this? Because there's some interviews and all that stuff. The main thing really I want to emphasize is that the original pack, where all of this alpha business was laid out, was not a natural family pack. The researcher at the time, he just heard of wolf packs, didn't know what they were, figured that they probably just a bunch of wolves that got together or something. Right. And so that's what he did. He got all these wolves together from different places. They were unrelated. You do the same thing with other species, and they'll do the same thing. They'll make a dominance hierarchy, and humans in prison do that, and refugee camps and all that. And so that's what he did with the wolves, and that's what developed. But that's not what happens in a pack of wolves. A pack of wolves, 2 unrelated wolves find each other, pair bond, mate, produce pups, and form a family, exactly like humans do.
Right. Correct. Amazing. That's super, super clear. I appreciate you doing that. The last question I have for you is you obviously answered this already for me, but a large community in the dog world referenced your 1999 paper as proof with dogs that there is no such thing as dominance, no such thing as leadership, and that dogs are not pack animals. Is your paper proof of any of those things?
Of course not. And that's a total misrepresentation, which has been around since I published that paper in 1999. And I don't know how many times I've had to address that in lectures and places where, and other, emails all the time. Various dog trainers have consulted with me about it. And it's just a total misrepresentation of what I said. Maybe it was my fault in the way I said things, but it's certainly not what I meant.
Right. I don't think it was how you said things. I think it was more so, at least in my experience from discussing with these people who will say those things. It doesn't seem like they've done the actual research of truly reading your papers, reading your work to understand really what you said, and are likely taking the words of somebody else's interpretation
Yeah.
of your studies
Yeah.
and kind of saying it the way they want to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's amazing. I really listen. I don't want to take up more of your time. If you have any more time, it's amazing. I love talking with you, but it's really I really appreciate how objectively you look at all this stuff, and it's what I find what's a struggle for my generation of studying behavior and things is there's a lot of ego that's coming into it. I'm noticing there's a lot of personal emotional views of the science, which is not obviously what science is. And I think that's really just getting, again, going along with the times now too, with all the TikTok and Instagram and all these quick little pieces of information that it's very difficult to get someone to sit and discuss something like this in depth, to truly understand, which I think is missing, severely missing, at least in the dog world. And it's amazing to hear that you're part of that though in the wolf world.
Well, studying wolves automatically comes with having to deal with controversy. I mean,
Correct.
I learned that probably the first day that I was on the job
Right.
60 some years ago. So one has to remain objective about it. And it gets, especially when it comes to things, not what you're talking about, but things like wolf management. Because, wolves, we all love them. They're beautiful. And I just as much as anybody else. But, they do get into trouble. They do conflict with humans in certain places, like most wildlife does, or much wildlife does. Geese, they get into trouble by, deer and all this stuff.
We know about the geese up here in New York, the Canadian geese. We have them interacting with us.
Yeah. So some people love them so much they think there's just never should be an occasion where they have to be removed, and then other people hate them so much they think they should all be killed off. So I kind of have to. I'm caught in the middle, and I just and as a scientist I have to be objective about it. My job really is just to learn about them. So, try to be as objective as I can that way. Do you? With your interest in wolves, do you ever get out to try to watch them any place? If so, go to Yellowstone.
I would love to.
That I don't know where you're located.
So I'm in New Jersey right now, in the New York City.
New Jersey, okay.
Yeah,
If you can ever get out to Yellowstone, especially in winter, now is a great time, and March is even better. There's gangs of people out there that are out there just to watch wolves. And you just get along with them, and you'll be able to do it. Bring a big scope or something.
I love that.
You'd love that. And then the other thing is the International Wolf Center. I don't know if you've ever been there or if you get on their website, but that's a really great place for all kinds of objective information. That's basically our mission is to just promote objective information about wolves. And if you're interested in any of my papers, most of them are on there. You can download from that site. And you have to probe around, around the site a bit, but go to Learn About Wolves and, find your way down. And most of my papers are on that for downloading.
Really appreciate that. Well, I was writing. I can totally relate to about the difficulty of being objective. In my field with the dogs and working with dogs, I've found that there's polar opposites in this world, which are one side is saying that you should only use positive reinforcement with dogs only, which I understand their perspective, and the other side is saying that you should use all type of things with dogs, right? And that positive punishment is actually part of a training protocol that could work. Now, this side is basically saying you punish too much. This side is saying you reward too much. And there's really not like a gray area in the middle of learning to look at this objectively, not saying like, who's got the better method or who's got the better thing. It's really like understanding how do the dogs see it, not how do the humans' interpretation of what we want to see it as.
Well, and you just looking at all that from the outside, I would say the relationship between a human and their dog, every single set of relationships like that is different.
Correct.
You know, you and your dog, that's one thing. Your wife and your dog, that's another thing. You know, on and on. And
Correct. It's
so
all based on the individual.
yeah, I can understand there could be all kinds of controversies and issues just because of that, you know?
Correct. Like I was even discussing, I did a video on, we had a particular dog that was behaving very dominant with its owner, and it was doing like a ground scratching, like a very intense way of ground scratching. And I had recommended, what we did with that dog was you recommended to just put a limit on the intensity of that ground scratching because of that dog's particular issues with their owner. And then people take that, when I say something like that for a particular thing, and say, he believes you should correct ground scratching. And it's not what's being said. I wish I could explain this, but it's very difficult to explain it in a more in-depth level on a TikTok 1 minute clip. You know what I'm saying? It's very difficult to do that. So we're trying our best. So I'm always, you know.
You know, on that subject, that ground scratching from my standpoint, you know, I have no idea about it in dogs, but in wolves, we still don't understand that. Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating. And you know that I lived with a pack of wolves up by the North Pole for 25 summers, 24 actually. And
awesome.
And that pack most often didn't, and this was just during summer, when they're really not as competitive in summer as they are in winter when they're breeding season and all that. I mean, even between packs.
Right.
And so most often my wolves I rarely saw them scratch. And then one year, I think it was 92, I started in 86. Yeah, I think it was 92. All of a sudden, they're scratching all the time when they urinate or defecate or something. And turns out it was related to some other wolves coming around their area. And it was sort of something to do with territoriality and challenging each other and all that stuff. And they did that for a couple of summers, and then things died down again, and I rarely saw it. So I'm still trying to figure that out.
Yeah, it's super interesting.
Sorry?
Sorry, I was just saying it's super interesting. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just got done trying to summarize a lot of all that stuff. I've got a new book into the publishers right now that of all the stuff I did on Ellesmere, it's sort of a synthesis of all the years. And I address that ground scratching in that just so that other workers, when they have a chance to study it, will take what I've said so far and what I've seen so far and maybe advance our knowledge on that, because we sure don't really understand that very well.
Yeah, I would say that in my research of really understanding, because after I posted that, you know, I obviously did extensive research of like, what are these people saying? So I really did the research, and what I got to was there's no consensus of what they're actually doing. And there could be quite a few different contexts in which they are actually doing ground scratching for different purposes of communication. Like you said, territorial potentially, for mating purposes, for many different reasons. One other question. So when you said to observe the wolves, would you we have a wolf sanctuary here in New Jersey, right? In Jackson, New Jersey. They've invited me to come there and see what's going on there. But would you recommend me to do like a Yellowstone to see them in a natural environment primarily?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because in captivity, I mean, there's a lot of places you can go to watch wolves in captivity, and that can be pretty interesting. It could give you the wrong idea in terms of, I mean, just simply because it's not natural being cooped like that. And even the Wolf Center, which I'm part of, we have a pack of wolves, but it's not even a natural pack. It's not a family group. And it's interesting to watch them, but it's a totally different matter. It's a group of individuals who they're not related, and they are cooped up, and they can't do things that other wolves would do. So I don't spend a lot of time watching them because I don't want to get the wrong impression, you know. But
right.
If you go out to Yellowstone, you know, plan to spend at least 3 days, better a week. Of course, the longer the better. And incidentally, I mentioned winter. If you can't do that, May is another good time, especially late May. That's before the big crowds, and wolves have their pups. And in more recent years, quite often, those pups are visible from the road or from accessible areas. Sometimes they're not, but in the last few years they have. been, and it's fun to sit around and watch the adults interact with the pups and that kind of thing.
That's amazing. I'm absolutely going to do that. Do you still go out to Yellowstone or no?
Sorry? Oh, do I still go out there? I haven't in the last couple of years because of COVID. I haven't gone any place in the last couple of years.
I can imagine.
Because of COVID. I'm just starting. I this spring and summer, I've got a meeting in Stockholm. I'll probably go to that kind of thing. But ordinarily, yes, I usually go every year, and I still have students out there, grad students and stuff, So I do hope to get out there again.
And do you recommend who would I contact out there? Is there anyone specific to contact, or I just look up like wolf observation groups? Or?
Well, you can. There are actual guides that you can hire to do that. You don't have to do that. If are you familiar at all with Yellowstone? Have you ever been?
I've never been there. I've never been to Yellowstone. Dying to go there.
Write this down. Lamar Valley, Lamar. Lamar Valley. It's just part of Yellowstone. It's the northeastern part of Yellowstone. That's where most of the wolf watching takes place. And if you drive that road through the Lamar Valley and you find groups of other cars that have stopped and people out on the hill next to the car with spotting scopes, they're almost certainly watching wolves.
Got it.
And if you pail along with them, they have inside information on where to find the wolves and all of that. And if you're there for more than a day, you'll see those groups, and that's the best way to do it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Where can I find the most of your videos or your interviews and lectures? Would it be on the website?
I'm sorry, say again?
I said, so where could I find most of your, let's just say, videos or interviews or papers? Would you say the best place would be to be on your website?
It'd be on the website. The papers, if you want, they're on the Wolf Center website, but I will, when we're done here in a minute, I will send you a link to where on that website you can find the papers.
Thank you so much. That would be amazing.
Steve, here's one other thing. We got to go, but
yes.
Look, I haven't been very nice to you over the times you emailed me. If you'd have told me from the beginning that you were a dog trainer, which I know because I looked you up,
right.
But if you'd have said that and said you'd like to chat about some of these things, we probably could have done it. I get so many requests.
I can imagine.
It just students, so many students and stuff, and I'd love to accommodate them. I can't. But where was I going with this? I was going to say, feel free to email me questions.
I appreciate that.
I try to answer all my emails.
I really appreciate that.
It may take a week or so, but you'll usually get a reply.
No, I didn't take it as you were being mean. I understand how in demand your time is and how many people want to have this opportunity. So I can't thank you enough for giving me the honor to speak with you directly. Hopefully we can talk again in the future because I really enjoyed talking with you and I really enjoy learning from you. So thank you, Dr. Mech. It's been amazing.
Very good. I enjoyed it.
Thank you again. Have a great one.
Take care. You too.
So that is the goal, guys, of this interview is I'm hoping that people can look at this with an open mind. Even if you have beliefs of there's no such thing as the pack leader and all that stuff, all I'm asking is just to listen and just have an open mind. And hopefully you may find something different in your viewpoint based on the information in this podcast. I hope you found this episode informative. And if you have any questions, let us know in the comments below. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow, and we will see you on the next episode of the Ask the Pack Leader Show.